Hey, it is another opportunity for us to lock in with the Elevated Life podcast and talk about another really exciting topic. Well, at least, it's exciting to us. Hopefully, others find it exciting.
Other people,
Um,
exactly.
yes. But this is our last episode of the season. So, really exciting for
Oh,
us as well. And I
it went
think
so fast.
it went by so fast. It just zipped by. And I think it's such a good topic to kind of end the season on, which is hanging in there, staying in the fight, staying engaged through transition, change when things are difficult. And so I'll just start by just saying this, and then I want to get your thoughts. Seasons change in our life,
Mhm.
and so many things come with different seasons. Some seasons are tough and challenging. Some seasons are a breeze. Other seasons, we are, I would say, through all seasons, we are growing and experiencing growth. And some growth is incredibly uncomfortable and painful. And sometimes through those growing seasons, we don't want to stay in the fight. We don't want to hang in there. We want to check out. So what would you consider when you think about growing pains and change and transition? What comes to mind? What things would you share with our listeners today?
Yeah, this topic really, means a lot to me because, like most people, over the course of my life, I have experienced a great deal of change and significant change at that. And I think number one is up to you to define what significant change is because some people, changing jobs is just a part of something that they do. And then other people, they have, a sense of loss or a sense of, oh, I'm going to miss some of the things that I enjoyed about working in this particular company or this role. And it's a sad, opportunity, just as an example. But with that, I think a key thing, and you kind of touched on it already, but with change and that uncomfortableness and that part where you don't exactly know what's next and know what's going on, that's where the growth lies. That is where I think you get to develop a different set of skills, a different set of ways in which you can be resilient
Yeah.
from going through that valley to come out on the other side. So I think about things, for example, I've lived in several different states over the course of my marriage. And with that, all of that brings change.
Yeah.
You have to figure out where you're going to get your hair done, who's going to do your nails, who's going to watch your kids, where you're going to get your car service, like all the things that sometimes we take for granted that sometimes we don't even want to do. Like, we don't even really want to go sometimes to get our oil changes, like, oh, something else I got to do. But when you don't know where you're going to go, you got to figure it out. That can be daunting. So I would say, number one, I'm just going to acknowledge and let's just go ahead on and say it. It's hard.
It's
It
hard.
is hard.
Yes.
Like through a series of transitions, not just with relocations to different states, but just other challenging things that have been a part of my life and a part of my story. It has been hard. Like there are moments where you cry. And let me see, personally, there are moments
Yeah.
when I have cried. There are
Yeah.
moments where I have felt like giving up, and giving up looks different, to everybody. But giving up for me is like, I can't make another decision right now today. Don't nobody
Right.
ask me nothing else. I don't want to have any input. I don't have an opinion. I do not care. I just don't have, so giving up. Um, feeling hopeless, almost feeling like I don't
Hmm.
know when this is going to change. I'm not happy. I don't like what's
Hmm.
going on, but I don't know when this is going to change. Um, so I think that number one is an opportunity and a space for growth, but it does not feel like growth, and it does not
Mhm.
feel good when you're in a space of transition because there is so much unknown. And I think that's where I know to a great degree I have had to lean into my faith, really
Mhm.
pray my way through it,
Yes.
really lean into my community, whether it's talking to someone on the phone, sending a text message, going out to dinner, just having a moment to just connect about something other than the topic of the transition and that
Yeah.
you have not figured it all out yet. Just even a momentary distraction can help. But I think also holding on to the hope that when you get through it, there's a reason for every season. There's a purpose for every season, which I do truly believe. Because even in those hard moments when I can look back on like different transitions of like relocating to a different state and not necessarily having family or friends there right
Yeah.
away, or not knowing where I'm going to go for different needs that I may have in those times and in those moments, you may get a chance to try something different.
Mhm.
You get to go to 3, 4, 5 different hairstylists so you figure out the one that you like.
Mhm.
Or, you get an opportunity to, look at things differently and maybe prioritize things differently because your priority in one place or one season of your life may not be a priority in another season. It's like
Yeah.
getting my nails done, for example. In some seasons of my life, it's a priority. I'm going every 3 weeks. I'm going to keep it fresh. I'm going to keep it going. Other times in my life, I'm like, well, you know what? I don't feel like sitting there for an hour and a half. I'm about to put these press ons on 10 minutes before I
Okay.
walk out the door. And that's this what they get me to do. And then
Okay.
other times it's just like, you're going to get what's on my hand
Yeah.
whatever it is, you're just gonna get that. So it definitely the seasons really, I think, depending on what you've learned in previous ones, can
Yeah.
let you know really what's important. At
Yeah.
one
That's
point I
good.
felt like, oh my gosh, it's critical to have my nails done. And now I know like it's an option.
It
If I do,
is.
I do. If I
Absolutely.
don't, I don't.
Right.
It's up to me, you
Absolutely.
know.
Absolutely. That's so good. You know what I kind of was thinking of as you were sharing that. Um, I have always thought of you and Justin as folks who, as part of their call, like you build relationships and you change lives and you shift, environments and atmospheres.
Oh God, be
And
the
so
glory.
I've always felt very confident when you guys make decisions on moving and making changes in your lives where it is, there's some level of disruption to that. I mean, that's part of change, right? There's
Yeah.
some disrupting your lives, but knowing what the bigger picture is and how, you are, it's mission driven and it's God, involved and enabled, and
Yeah.
he's leading the way.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'm sure helps. But what I don't think people realize, and I think this goes with growth in any season, is what people see is the outcome of that
Mm.
change,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They see the end of the transition, right?
Yes.
They don't always see the difficulties and the
Listen.
discomfort and
Hmm.
all the things that come along with it. So it's very easy for me to say, you know, when you guys moved to Ohio, we were very sad about that change, but we also
Yes.
knew that it was very purpose driven and that God
Right.
was in it, God ordained. And
Absolutely.
we knew without a shadow of a doubt that you were going to have impact in that
Mhm.
community and the work that you did, build relationships with people in every space that you interacted with. And so the outcome or the
Yeah.
results we knew, we saw, we understood, but
Mhm.
we're not always in every conversation and every, moment of difficulty. We don't get to see
Absolutely.
those
Yeah.
difficult
Oh,
times and
that's a
those
good point.
tears, and so what else comes to mind, and then just
Mhm.
kind of want to get your thoughts on that too, that just kind of an analogy. So we both have growing children,
Mhm.
and Ezra, I'm going to use her as an example. She has always been like, had this fear that she was going to be short, right? It's a long story, right? We're
Mhm.
tall, Evie's tall, Bartez is tall, I'm tall, and she's kind of our little shorter one in the family right now.
Mhm.
We always tell her, like, girl, you beautiful, it don't matter, right?
Man.
But it's so funny. Like, she has had these growth spurts.
Mhm.
And what will happen is she'll be like, Mom, um, my knees hurt, or my
Oh,
ankles hurt,
growing
or
pain.
like my feet are hurting. Like, she started having all these aches and pains that were really, truly growing pains. The other thing that we saw was her appetite changed, right? Like, the girl
Ah,
could eat. We're like,
yeah,
okay, she must be going through a growth spurt.
that's awesome.
And the beauty in all of it is, we are, because we're a close family, we get to be first hand witnesses to her
Mhm.
evolution of growth. So
Yeah.
we see the difference in how what she's eating
Oh,
and her aches and pains, and we are the first where she's sharing that too. But we also are the first to see that excitement that she has when we say, we think you're in a growth spurt.
yeah.
And like, she lights up because she's like, what? I'm about to get taller. I'm growing. I'm changing. I'm
Yeah.
evolving.
Changes, right?
Yes. Like,
Closer
what?
to who she wants to be.
Yes. And what would, I mean, how much more would we benefit if we took that posture where
Yeah.
those people that are closest to us, acknowledging that we're going through change, when we say, I'm hurting,
Yeah.
this is hard, this is
Yeah.
uncomfortable, if they said, you know what, you're changing, I see the evolution, and we
Yeah.
lit up,
Oh, wow.
girl, we be like,
Um,
okay, when it's over.
exactly. I mean, you said so much there that really like brings me back to the very topic that we're talking to, and like that feeling that you have when you're in the midst of change. Because to your very point, when we transitioned from Iowa to Ohio, you knew this because we had had several conversations about just like the tugging of the
Hmm.
transition that is to come, that none of us knew what it was, but just the tugging of that something's there. And having been prayed about it in secret inner closet rooms, and
Right.
really, seeking God's guidance on that, and for that to come to fruition, to your very point, was prayers that God chose to unfold in front of everybody, and really was unfolding for us,
Yeah.
at the
Wow.
same time. But it's so very uncomfortable because you don't know,
Mhm.
what's on the other side. You're walking blindly into something that you have to believe is going to be good. But at the same time, you don't know. You
Mhm.
could go and you could hate it. You could go and it could be like the worst decision ever.
Yeah.
And I just recall, like, still in that, to that very point of using your faith through those periods of growth and unknown and transition, and praying, like,
Mhm.
Lord, meet me where I'm going to be next. That's always my prayer when I'm going into a big meeting. That's always my prayer when I'm having to speak and share anything about me, or that God has placed within me to share, is, Lord, meet me there. You
Yeah.
share, front using me what you find desirable, less
Mhm.
of me and more of you.
Yeah.
um, and really just leaning into that faith and understanding that, my thoughts are not his thoughts. I'm not going to understand everything, but
Mhm.
my duty is to do my best in whatever environment, situation that I'm in, and just lean into, you know, his everlasting love, and know that, each step of the way, even if it doesn't feel like it, he's with, and just
Yeah.
remind myself, constantly of that. So, and praying in the midst of that transition, Lord, give me the things that I need, the things that I don't even,
Yes.
that I haven't even
Mhm.
spoken, the desires
Mhm.
of my heart. Ain't nothing like a blessing when God then gave you something and it's from him, because you ain't told nobody.
Ain't don't nobody
Ain't
know but
told
you and him.
nobody even
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
Don't nobody even know. So, in those moments you feel seen. In those
Yeah.
moments you know that you're loved. In those moments you are his child.
Yeah.
That I am so forever grateful for. But What about you? You're going into a transition right now with
Yeah.
your career, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So there's some unknown, but there's also some excitement there. So, how have you processed that change and looking forward to what the future holds while also assessing what's in the rear view and deciding, of that, what goes ahead with you?
Man, there's so many things that come to mind. And so I want to try to make this simple without belaboring and being too long. But one thing in particular, as you were sharing that you pray that God, that He helps you with what to say and kind of in that space, He's preparing the space. My prayer is always, Lord, prepare the place, the destination, go before me and
Mm,
prepare it.
yeah.
Um,
Make
prepare
it
the people
simple.
for me.
Mm,
Prepare the environment. Help to establish opportunity for new footing and change because I know too who I am. And I know that part of my design is to be a mover and shaker and a disruptor. And
all right.
and
Yes,
everybody ain't ready for that.
absolutely.
And, I have this natural ability to establish strategy to see, and in doing that, to see gaps and opportunities,
Mhm,
um, and how to make things better than I left them. And
mm,
everybody is not excited about that
right.
perspective. And so,
Well,
Lord,
because it's what?
it's
Change.
change. Come on.
Yeah. It's
Come
something
on
different.
now. We preaching.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So yeah, it's change. Everybody's not ready for that. And so, Lord, that's my prayer. Lord, prepare the people.
yeah.
Um, prepare my circle. Because whenever you go to a new space and you're elevated, you're
Yeah.
gonna have to find new networks and resources.
Yeah.
Lord, help to identify who those people are. Help me.
Everybody can go. Everybody can
Yeah, everybody can. And whoever is supposed to be in my life during that
go.
season of my life, I help to prepare them. And then of course I
Mhm.
pray, God,
Yeah.
prepare my heart, right?
Mhm,
Prepare um my thoughts and my
mhm,
words, because being a change agent and a disruptor also means that I have to be aware of the environment that I'm in, and I don't just
mhm.
go in there sounding
Absolutely.
crazy, talking crazy, telling people where they're going to go and what they're going to do, because
Right.
that's not going to be received. That I'm operating from a place of love and that people
Mhm.
can see my heart and my intent. And
Absolutely.
so, and that not only can they see it, but they can hear it in what I
Exactly.
say and how I show up. They can see it in how I show up too. And so that
Mhm,
those are some things that I definitely pray for. And then I also, like, this is very fresh for me because to your
mhm,
point, I'm currently in that transition where
mhm,
I've left an employer and I'm headed to a new one. And so,
mhm,
even as a part of that transition, I had to ask God to prepare my exit.
yeah.
Help me, Lord, with every conversation that I have. And you know what? God spoke to me about, He spoke to my heart about things disappointments that I had. And every company, you're going to have disappointments. I don't care where you work, what it is.
Right.
And He had to keep checking that and be like, there are
Mhm.
things that maybe you weren't thrilled about. But there were so many that you were, and to be grateful for the good,
Absolutely.
and to learn from the other things, right? And so that was also my prayer, Lord, prepare my exit. And when I tell you that He did some things, um, when He prepared every conversation, interactions, emails that I got, phone calls, people reaching out, I had totally undervalued and underestimated the level of impact that I had
That's
being
amazing.
me. And it
Yeah.
was just like, wow. And so having those prayers, God answering that prayer of, from the point A transition as He's preparing me for point B. And then also just praying for the in between, because I had the privilege of taking a little bit of time in between, not a significant amount, but enough to just
Refresh.
exhale.
Yeah.
Yes.
Clear my
And
mind of that to get ready
yes,
for
to
this.
ready me. And so that's the other prayer is, Lord, ready me and my family, because now I've been able to really spend some important time with them.
Yes.
Um, and
Reset those
yeah,
expectations, reset that engagement. That's always important.
yes, because baby, when the job starts, I
Yeah.
don't
It's
know.
gonna go.
Right,
Yeah.
I don't know
That's
when I'll be able to come up for air.
yeah.
Because it's going.
When you get to the space in your life where you are comfortable with who you are,
Hmm.
and you not only are comfortable, but you know who you are,
Yeah,
and you know who God has called you to be, and you are confident in this is who I am. I thank you for acknowledging me, but I know that this is my gift. You know, there's nothing
yeah,
that you can face or have to do that will wave you from the thought that you won't get to the other side.
yeah.
You
That's.
know, I mean, it may be tough. You may
Hmm.
rethink some decisions in that space. We're like, well, okay, well, I'm doing this and I'm sticking it, but maybe you telling me that this ain't working, so maybe I need to try something else. So, there may be some pivoting
Yeah,
that you will do, but you know that you will get through to the other side. Allow yourself that room to grow and say that used to work, but it don't no more. Okay,
right.
we're gonna
Yeah.
try something else. And if you don't
Okay.
want to, that's fine, but I'm gonna go where they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and that takes confidence.
Hmm.
That takes confidence. And when you operate in who you
Hmm.
are and
Yeah.
who you truly innately were created to be, that's the highest form of performance. That's the
Yeah.
highest form of contribution,
Hmm.
and that's why it's so important that employers, places of worship, you know, businesses,
Yeah.
and schools, universities, anyone
Yeah.
in the public that has people that's coming in there from the outside, be
Yeah.
able to create an environment where regardless of who you are, you're able to show up.
Yeah.
And
And be
that's important.
yourself.
Exactly. Be
Hmm.
yourself. And that is so important. And even if the environment is not set for you to be
Hmm.
yourself, knowing and using some things to know that either I got to leave this because this is going
This
to
ain't working.
stifle me, it's going to
Hmm.
suffocate me until I am somebody different.
Yeah.
Or to your point, can I be the change? Can I be the person that says, okay, well, I noticed how we was doing it, but it don't work. Okay, and let me tell you why it's not working. And how about we try something else?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I do.
it takes confidence and it takes security to know that you are not dependent upon anyone at
Hmm.
any job. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Or who you are and how you're taken care of. Your calling is beyond that. And that
Yeah.
for me, that's another part of that confidence is that I am no longer bound to any job, any boss,
Yeah.
any organization. That is not my alliance because that can change in a moment's notice.
Yeah.
My forever path, salvation, security is in Him. That's it.
Yeah. And I
That's it.
think that's something that we need to carry with us as we're going through change and transition and growing pains. um, that it's for a greater purpose, and that
Yeah,
we have a greater call and
yeah,
responsibility to align ourselves to the will of God to do his work. And that
absolutely.
work, sometimes we limit the work of God to just ministry in terms of in the church house. But that ministry can be in the boardroom, it can
Absolutely.
be in the nonprofit space, it
Absolutely.
can be in the
In the
community,
school,
in the
yes,
schools. I mean,
anywhere.
there's so many places woo, thank you,
In the
Lord.
Chick-fil-A line. I
Girl,
mean,
come on now. There's
exactly.
there's so many
So many
there's
ways
so
that you can
many
show
ways.
kindness,
Yes. There
grace.
Yes, there's so many places that God is calling us to do his work and to
Right.
use the gifts that he's given us for his glory. And we can't put a box and limitation on that. And so be assured though
Yeah.
that as part of doing the work of God, you're going to have times where of growth and uncomfortability.
Yeah.
That's inevitable. And related to that
Yeah.
is having the strength to then endure through
Mm.
that growth. And
And
so
the
one last thing
stamina.
I want, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the strength and the stamina to know that when you
Yes.
come in that door at night and you lay it down for the day, that you got to pick that cross back up again tomorrow.
Come
Keep
on.
going. You got to pick it up again and again and again until your time is done.
Till that assignment,
Yes.
that time, or whatever
Exactly.
next transition
Till
God
that
has you.
transition is done,
Yes.
no, you got to do it. That child gonna be hard headed for that season. They're gonna be hard headed. Folks at that job will get your nerves for that time of that period of time.
Yeah.
Car gonna keep backing up till you get a new one, probably. But
Right.
so you have to just acknowledge that things are periodic. That this is for
Yes.
a
And
moment
it's
in time. This
only
will
for
not
a
be. That's
season.
another thing around like that whole manifestation. Like this is not my forever. You
Mm-mm.
know, I was talking to my sister one time and I had gotten some money out of the bank for her and given it back to her and you know, got the receipt. I was like, oh well girl, I don't know the receipt around here somewhere. She was like, well girl, I ain't worried about that receipt because whatever that receipt says, this is a moment in time. That ain't the last money I'm gonna have. So I'm not even worried about what it say because that money is gonna get bigger. You know what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
like, just to even think about it like that,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
every instance, in every example, in every moment in your life, this is not it. I am not
Right.
stopping here. This is,
Mm-hmm.
a moment in
Mm-hmm.
where I'm eventually going.
And when I'm in this transition, when I'm in the thick of it, what is it that God would have me to do during this
Hmm.
time?
Hmm.
Right? Who would He have me to speak life into?
Yeah.
Where would He have me to go? What does He want me to gain? Right? What am I supposed to look like at the end of this? Like
Yeah.
what we have a natural human tendency to do is to kick and scream through the change that
Yeah.
we miss some of the benefit of the transition or some of the call that happens during that time. And so people are watching and still depending on the light that you have, God's light that's shining in you. They're
Yeah.
depending on that. There are
Absolutely.
people who need your prayers during times of transition when you are
There are
going
people that
through.
need your smile,
They need your
that
smile.
need your
They
sense
need
of
so
humor,
much.
your laugh, your
Yeah,
thank You
right.
know, just when you think nobody is seeing you and somebody tells you thank you, that could be the difference between somebody having a bad day and somebody really feeling like, okay, what I do does matter.
Yeah.
So you
But when you're
can't.
so self-consumed and when you're
Yeah,
navel gazing, you
yeah,
can't you don't say thank you because you're too
yeah,
worried about your own circumstance.
exactly.
So anyway, that's good.
Yeah,
This has been a
very good.
great.
Good. This has been a great topic. It definitely went in a different direction than I think either of us were intending at first. But
Yeah.
I think we really touched on some, very key and very important things. And, you have to, I think, this is the last thing I would say about, looking at staying engaged when it's tough or, getting through a tough time or getting through a valley is really just knowing, you know, you've been through worse.
Mhm.
Even in a moment when even in the valley that you can be in right now, I'm sure you can look back on some
Mhm.
times and say, "Who it? At least it ain't bad as that." So you get that you can get
Right.
through this,
Right. When you really think like, okay, that I've been through the
worse.
storm, right? I've been in the eye of the storm. Right
Exactly.
now I'm on the waves.
Exactly.
Like when you can make that comparison, um, absolutely. And then I would just say, my parting words for today. would just be to stay engaged, be reminded of um, the fact that these are seasons.
Mhm.
Seasons change, they start and they stop. And what is it during that time that God wants of you and
Yeah.
for you? And to kind of keep that in mind. So that's
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Yes, this has been a great topic. Thank
Yes.
you all for joining us. Please, please let us know what you're thinking, what other topics that we can touch on and share with you. And we just want to keep the conversation going. And thank you for joining us on the Elevated Life Podcast. See you
Thanks
next
for
time.
joining us. See you next time.